What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Nooner Show, the first ever one. It's going to be a new thing we're doing. I hope you like it. I'm going to start combining topics, and I'll be going live just once a week now to kind of lighten my workload. It's been pretty hard on me, but hey, you don't want to hear about my damn problems. Let's have a good time here. Beltawada and Valar Morghulis. So we got a couple of different topics here today. The Expanse, our favorite moments from season 2. Me and Sasa will be covering that. Then we'll be talking about the long night in Essos with Justin Thomas from Top Shelf Fandom and John St. Baptiste from Music Makes the People Come Together. Now, it's going to be really fun. The second part, a little bit, we'll talk about Blood Moon, but mainly we're going to talk about the lore of the Long Night in Essos. There's a lot of things connecting that seems really fun, and if anything seems like it would be cool to put on the show, we'll relate it to that there. So I hope you have a good time. We'll kind of get into it, but I want to introduce Sasa, my resident co-host, aka MackenzieLBurns. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Johnny, and yet we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna cover two different shows, but hey, this is kind of what we're used to, just kind of condensing them all, and yeah, it'll be a good time. We're gonna talk about some awesome TV and then some pretty cool and interesting lore, which may develop into a TV show. So yeah, we have yeah, we're gonna have some fun times. And I think Katrinzi asked what the Expanse is. So if we want to address that, because that's our first topic for today. The book's behind book's behind you. Oh, 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 there's no sound for you apparently on the on YouTube.
Idiot. I'm an idiot. So, since I talked this whole time with the mute button on, I will stop doing that, okay? So, The Expanse. James S.A. Corey. Great book series. I would highly recommend it to anyone. It's written by George R.R. Martin protege and someone else. They write under the pseudonym of James S.A. Corey. I think it's a 7 or 8 part series. Uh, the original Expanse series came on Sci-Fi. There's been three seasons so far, and the fourth season will be coming out. It got picked up by Amazon Prime. A lot, over 100,000 signatures to get the go. The show got canceled, and over 100,000 signatures to get it picked up. So, has a high cult classic rating, I would say. It's really loved by the fans, and for good reason. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit here. We'll talk about our best moments, and it won't really spoil you too much if you're here.
Well, it's described by some people as Game of Thrones in space, right? That's how they've kind of marketed it, at least the TV show. I'm not sure about the book series. Like, if you like Game of Thrones and you like space, I think that's how they've marketed it. So, and you can, when you watch it, you'll be able to see that correlation, which is pretty fun.
Yeah,
Because you've got
what is good, everybody in the chat? Tubbs, how's it going, man? Barbara McCullough, how are you doing? Lady H of the North, Septa Shane of Secrets. I think you got some new videos dropped. You can link them in there if you want later in the when we go to intermission. Actually, who else? Of course, Katrin C. From my point of view, loving it, loving it. Bravosi Broadcast, how are you doing? Another great channel that you should definitely check out. So, what would be one of your first favorite moments you want to talk about? And this segment will last about an hour, and then we'll get into the long night in Essos. Yeah, in about an hour. Bring on all them crazy folks.
yeah, all more J's get added to the stream. One of the moments that was really fun and interesting, but it's also sad at the same time, is Miller, and because Miller's kind of character develops a little bit more in season 2, but I think his story arc is ends in the first book, so they just, I guess, carried him over into the second season, and
Well,
his
this is still into the first book for sure.
okay.
Go ahead.
So, um, and kind of his relationship with the woman who he A never knew, but B never got to meet her physical form, which is Julie. But that whole storyline and story arc from mostly season 1 is one of the more fun ones, but also the most intriguing at the same time, because we're getting used to these characters and getting used to the setting and the
And
storyline.
I told you Julie was still alive. You were like, huh? And she
Yeah.
was. How crazy was the visuals there? All that blue, the things flying in the air, the bird shape. You know, it looked like the bird that he saw on series. And she's just basically what he said is the sea crystal. So she's kind of the nexus point of everything. She's the beginning. And he's been in love with her this whole time, right? It's crazy how you can love someone from afar, but hey, it can happen. It's a rare thing, but it can happen.
And if you, yeah, so the thing that she's kind of been infected with, and the ships have been infected with, is something called the proto molecule, which is like a blue thing. If you're a Stranger Things type of person, it's kind of like almost in aesthetics, it's slightly like the Upside Down in terms of stuff flying in the air, and if you breathe it in, you get sick.
It's more beautiful, I guess. In the books,
Yeah.
it's like a brown sludge, but there are the blue particles, and something different in the book to show. He has a 60-second delay on the bomb, but in the books it's only a 5 second delay, and I think they should have went with this because he had Julie actually hold the button down in the books while they were talking. Um, but I
Interesting.
still think it was pretty well done. It was touching. We
Yeah.
watched it together, so I know you liked it.
Yeah. It's also like just this sweet like scene, because Miller's on the outside, he's more of a tough exterior type of person, but when he interacts with Julie, it like really breaks his walls down compared to when he's interacting with Naomi, Holden, Amos, and all of the other characters that we come to know in this series. Yeah, it's not obviously for sure what happens, but it leaves you on a mark of, well, I know kind of where um, this goes, so to speak. Like, so you never find the end
Yeah,
result.
it's a
But
good ending, but we find out some crazy shit's going on in Venus later. That was some really good visuals where the whole ship was taken apart and they're just floating in space, well, in the atmosphere. Looking around, they should be dead, incinerated. I mean, it's so hot on Venus. But like I said, we'll try not to spoil it too much. We got to get into season 3 too. What's up, Danny McKay? Pew pew pew. How's it going, my man? Let's see. So yeah, we'll be talking about season 3 later in another Nooner show. So I do want to talk about Bobby Draper. The intro to Bobby Draper is pretty badass. That suit where the guided missiles basically come out of her back. When she's on Earth, there's this point where she breaks out, and this scene makes me laugh every damn time. She is walking, and she's disoriented. Her bone density isn't the same. She's not used to a horizon, so she falls off this roof. Fuck, busted. Bust her ass so hard, and then she just gets up and runs it off. Like she just takes off running. It's almost like a cartoon. I thought I was gonna die when I saw that. I loved it. I loved it. Miss Cronall, how's it going? Good to see you, my friend. Big hearts. Big hearts for you. Big hearts for you. What'd you think about Bobby Draper?
Yeah. Well,
She has a
yeah.
really good storyline. Probably the best in
Mhm.
season 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, Lady H of the North says Bobby Draper is the best. Yes. And I love how in this show, she has like, if you wouldn't know and you're just like listening to this and you haven't seen the show yet or you're interested, Bobby Draper, female, because most people would assume that a person named Bobby Draper is male. So she's female, and I believe she's a Martian, but she has like an Australian type of accent, which is
Yeah, they have all the accents there. They have like the country drawl, like Alex. Him singing in this was hilarious. Does the front flip to catch his drink down at the bottom because so damn.
beer or something like that.
You gotta have the craziest amount of cabin fever there, but yeah, they have this. She has like a New Zealand accent, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
Australian, New Zealand, that type of accent, and yeah, because you get a lot of different accents in this show, and you have a lot of different, tons of diversity in this show, which is very awesome because they always have the three different main races in the show being the Earthers, Martians, and Belters. So
Otus,
yeah,
Otus. Well, voila. Uh, Lady
um,
H of the North, Bobby, Brienne, and Lagatha are the best kick-ass ladies. I do love those ladies. Those are some awesome ladies.
yeah,
I have to agree with you on that.
yeah, they portray in these series. They portray women, strong women, in a good way. But in terms of Bobby Draper, like her character is awesome. She gets to, uh, she's on a mission with her team. Things go awry. Won't go too far into it unless Johnny you want to, and she ends up going on a diplomatic mission of sorts to Earth. And as a Martian, uh, she has some ways to try and kind of acclimatize herself to Earth and the different G's. And she meets up with some of the Earthers,
She even
and
runs into a ghost.
yeah, yeah,
Who
and
basically duped her out of all her meds she needs. And well, I mean, it's a stranger in a foreign land. I think she portrayed it very well.
mhm.
You know, it's yet to be seen how much of an asshole that guy is.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
shows you how harsh those conditions on Earth have been. Guy's what, 54, and he still hasn't had job placement yet. He's did his training and all that. So
yeah.
yeah, that's
He put I think on a list at 17, and he's
that's messed up.
50. Yeah,
No
yeah,
doubt. The proto molecule visuals were really good. Like we
mhm.
said, as far as the Julian Miller scene flying into Venus, I kind of maybe wish I would have seen them go into Venus, but I guess it's okay, because whatever's gonna happen there is
Mhm.
which we'll get better scum. is one of the things that's gonna happen there is will something it's not dead, right? In
No.
the books, they wanted to fly into the sun, and I think Miller like Holden said Venus to him, Miller as a joke while they were talking. And Miller,
Yeah.
the whole time in the books, he went there already in the books to ready to die. Like he didn't make that decision like you saw him do on the show. He was kind of just ready to be done with it. Because after he killed Dresden and he lost his only friends basically, because Holden and them still wasn't really talking to him. He didn't feel like he had anything left, and the only person he ever really loved was someone he could never have and never touch. Uh, kind of until this
Mhm.
moment, and they did add the kiss there. But it, I do. The more I even think about the show, the more I like it. You can say some of
Yeah.
the scenes are cheesy, and it's sometimes they don't have the best actors, but the main characters are really good actors.
Yeah.
Um, so you gotta remember it's a low budget too. Hopefully, they'll get a little better things. And so I guess we can talk a little bit about Amos, because he's one of the
Mhm.
best ones, in my opinion. Uh,
Yeah. Because there's the question of when did him and Naomi meet?
See, yeah, and he kind of has a moral compass, but he kind of completely doesn't. But if he didn't at all, he wouldn't stop when someone told him to stop. He wouldn't, But he does have this a definite anger issue where when he goes into a fit of rage, he goes into tunnel vision, and I guess the only people he hears is people he cares about. That's kind of the only people he'll listen to. Because if you noticed,
Mhm.
in the beginning, it was just Naomi. That was the only damn person he would listen to. Other than that, watch out. So
Yeah.
it's good to see him kind of evolve. He's an interesting and very unique character. He's
Mhm.
got some good grenade skills, right? Grenade,
Yeah.
and throws it out immediately.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want that guy in the foxhole with me.
Yeah. He would be a good person, but he almost seems to always get shot at one point. So it's like you can't go
Oh
an
yeah.
epi- go a couple episodes without getting hit
Hey,
by bullets.
Lady H, I don't know exactly when Naomi and Amos met. Um, I've been
Probably
thinking about that one for a second, and I don't know.
it would be pre-show, like pre before the show kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah, 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 but I don't know. I can't remember if they talk about it later. I know they talk about, you know, I, I want to say it's been at least it's over 5 years ago because they've been on the ship's name. I can't remember from the beginning. Oh, the Canterbury. They were on the Canterbury for 5 years, and then well, Holden was, and I think Naomi and them were there before Holden. So I would say probably roughly 10, 15 years ago, if I had to take a guess. And I don't know if it's in the book. I'm still getting into the other one. I got Caliban's War right here, which is the second one that I got to start. I got a little behind, but
Yeah.
I will let you know as soon as it does, because this definitely isn't the last Expanse stream. So
No,
we'll
we're
keep
gonna.
that noted down, Lady H, because it's a good question. I think it is pretty damn important.
Yeah, we'll continue with these because these are fun. And why not love the background with the Nooners in space? Like, come
Oh,
on.
and floating around in there, you know,
Yeah,
you
I
know how
know.
we do. Uh, what do you think about the proto monster or the proto baby?
The proto monster,
I can't
because
remember what it's actually called, but it's
yeah,
like a super soldier type deal.
yeah. Uh, I know this is jumping different things, but it kind of reminds me slightly, but it's not as scary as like a Demogorgon kind of situation because it's like it's blue compared to just black and slimy.
That
It's like
face
blue
is
and
creepy though. It's so human, but not human.
mhm. That's the one part that makes it more creepy because it's blue and like shiny, and, while compared to dark and slimy. So she says, "So a lady to the north says so much homework. So sorry."
It's
Uh,
all right. It's all right. I live in homework land.
and Barbara McCullough says Amos is such a cool guy. I think that they knew each other for a long time, and that she wants to also buy the books.
Yes, yes, I recommend them. They're a nice, smooth read. And yeah, yeah, I do. I won't go too much. Diogo and Miller are hilarious. Love Diogo. Yeah, you're an asshole. You're
Yeah,
just a real asshole, aren't you? And it's like, no wonder you have no friends. But Miller kind of just always tells it how he thinks it on his mind. And I do like, I guess they changed it a little bit here to make him make the sacrifice for Diogo.
yeah.
And that was a pretty cool moment. Realizing they couldn't both hold the bomb. Uh, but in the books,
Like, yeah.
he stays there for a while. He even sleeps in the
Mhm.
ship that they left. And I think
Yeah.
Fred already knows that he's going to stay there. And they're trying to actually, he's taking the bomb to actually try to go blow up Julie. Or whatever, the epicenter of it. Um,
Mhm.
but they got to
Um,
streamline it a little bit for TV. I think they do okay. What's
the
up,
one
Tim
thing,
F?
it's
T York, what's good, man?
um, the one thing that was cool about that scene too is this technology and the science with that because doesn't yeah Miller gets a cut in his suit and he just pulls out a random piece of fabric or a piece of fabric that's related to the suit and just slaps it on and it just sucks itself
Yeah,
into.
it's like a patch. It's really cool, really cool. So that basically using the air pressure and whatever kind of fabric it is, I guess it kind of melds to the outside. So it could be something that whatever it touches, it causes a chemical reaction and it melds a little bit to it. And then the suction from the spacesuit, like the vacuum should keep it sealed. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I thought it was
but
pretty cute. We didn't see the vomit zombies though. You got
no.
those actually. They're called vomit zombies in the book. And you didn't see, there were a few of those he ran into in the book while he was trying to get to Julie. It
Oh,
was like just it's
doesn't
pretty damn stunning. The more I think about it, I haven't seen season 3 in a while, and I can't remember exactly, but I'm trying to figure out why the hell they even wanted to cancel this, man.
because it was by Space. I know in Canada, but what was it in the States? Sci-Fi Channel. It was
Yeah,
some
the
some
floor
sort of
protos.
the yeah. So I guess because maybe it was too CGI expensive. I don't know, but you and I watched a not a documentary. It was like a behind the scenes episode, and they explained all of the ways that they deal with the science and some of that
It's a lot
whole
of work.
stuff that they do is pretty awesome.
Sam Worthington made an appearance in season 2 just to die really quick as
Who's that?
Sam Worthington. You don't remember Sam Worthington? He's been in a lot of stuff. The guy that played Solomon Epstein, that invented the Epstein drive.
No.
Well, he's from Mars. That's what gave Mars to get to the belt and all that stuff. He just
Oh
changed
right.
everything. His wife had the plans, and he just went into high G and died of a stroke, basically.
Oh right.
Like geniuses do. They just accidentally kill themselves with their genius.
Now I remember. I was like, what? Um, yeah. This show, especially this season, they really evolve in the science levels in terms of when people go into different planetary, uh, like when Bobby Draper goes down to Earth. Like they explain to her how her body will slowly become accustomed to Earth and how um there. And then there was can't see the
Oh,
doc.
okay, there you go. You're back.
Oh, um, the science behind the show is pretty cool, and um, with the little girl's father who's missing, they like show different elements of science. How it's not just
Yeah,
um,
talking about the system and how an ecosystem works, how it works when you have a manufactured, a man-made ecosystem. When one thing breaks down, it stresses another. But there's, in nature, you have other things to pick up the stressors. That's why it's harder to grow a garden than to just let something grow naturally. That's why it does take work. You gotta have that green thumb.
And
Gotta be like Johnny Appleseed.
yeah, it's like forcing something to happen essentially, right? Instead of just letting it naturally grow with like if you have vegetable gardens and stuff like that, it's forcing something to grow rather than actually growing.
What's up, Suntavia Major? How are you doing? Tim F says Sci-Fi Channel has a tendency to cancel shows that get too expensive to keep up with, no matter how good the show is. That's why they rushed the book 3 through season 3. So, yeah, I gotta
Mhm.
get to reading by the time we get to season 3 here. Oh man, I hate that they rushed it because they actually almost stretched out book 1. Throughout the first half of the second season. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but they got some time now. It makes sense. I don't know why sci-fi does that because they do have a lot of good shows, and they just
Sci-fi, I
I don't
don't
know
know.
what's up with them. They got a weird disposition.
Maybe because they want
Oh,
to the revolving door.
how about when Holden tells the boys he's with Naomi?
That's like the most it's one of the funny scenes, and it's almost the moment of comedy because they're like, "Really, dude? We know, we can tell."
Mm,
It's like we've known since pretty much it happened that you two have been together. Um, it's like those weird relationships where it's like it's almost like the thing in high school. It's like you start hanging around with this one person, and then your friends are like, and you go to your friends and be like, yeah, I'm dating so and so, and then they're like, I already knew that. It's like in those, it's just like it's not, it's completely obvious.
Alex just got a wet willy, huh?
Yeah, it's like I knew it, and then because he was expecting a punch to the arm, but instead he got a wet willy.
Yeah,
Because
that
I guess
probably would
that
have
was their
killed him.
bet. I guess because that was maybe their bet on maybe who was gonna tell them would dictate where they got hit or what was gonna happen. Maybe. Because
Something. I don't know. There's no telling what it was. It's probably just an unspoken thing. Guys just like to punch on each other, man. Honestly.
yeah, I'm surprised they
And
didn't punch Holden or something, but like, ha, like a Tormund situation. Like,
it's just funny. Amos was like, "Yeah, no, she's like a little sister to me, but if she asked me, I'd do her." It's like, what? I was like, "What?"
yeah. But I mean, like, there's not that many. Well, because they keep in the show keep killing off adults, so it's like there's not that many people. If it's not as dire as say other space shows, cough cough, Battlestar Galactica, with in terms of the adult to adult ratio. So I mean, they'd be
Yeah.
like, why
Well,
not?
it. I don't know. I think it's pretty good. They get to drop the fuck bomb every now and then. That brings me back to something that I got right here. Something that Miller said to the guy when he's ganking the Nauvoo from the Mormons. He said, "For your own safety, sit the fuck down."
Yeah.
And just got this look on his face like, whatever, just don't give a shit. Just try me, bro. Uh, Suntavia Major, that sucks. You're at work. Hopefully you got them earbuds in. You can sneak in some listening time to Johnny Be Crazy. Much
Yeah.
love,
It's like
Suntavia.
you're listening to a podcast. Almost.
Yeah, Tim F. I do hope they stretch that out, man. They got some time with it, and Bezos is rich as hell, man. So whatever. I'm not promoting Bezos, but I am promoting the Expanse because I do like that show. Don't get me twisted right now.
Yeah, I think that Amazon's taking a lot of new shows on. They'll have Lord of the Rings, pretty decently sized book series.
Mm,
So hopefully
yeah.
they stay kind of close to what they, especially for the Expanse, hope they stay in relative continuity. I wonder if they have the same writers on the show. Um, Probably I would assume some of the same actors as
Feel
well.
like we
Like,
should have looked this up already. I do want you to pop up on some filming news here, uh, while I fill the air with some space, with some dead space. No, so Alex, he's so lonesome he could cry. Almost died watching him sing that. Just Indian guy with with a southern accent is just hilarious. I love how they do that with the accents, how they carry over, and you got your own crazy semi-Creole accent of the Belters. And I've been practicing saying Beltawada, but I'm still probably doing it wrong. I'm just a Wellwalla with I'm a no neck. That's what they call me, from Earth. A
Maybe
no
it's
neck. Even
conflicting
though I
with
got a
your
long neck for an Earther.
maybe it's conflicting with your Earther accent.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Hey, what are y'all's favorite moments from season 2 in the chat? Let me know. Let me know. Read some off here. Let's talk about them. Yeah, and I think the proto molecule is evolving. I don't want to give you too much away. Sasa hasn't watched everything, uh, but it's fun to see how it's working. Uh, and it's one of those things where are you infected or not definitely plays out. I won't go much more in it than that. We'll try to say season two. The Nauvoo. So uh, that was crazy. I thought a really good scene was how Eros moved on its own, like it did with intelligence. Julie is controlling that thing. Thinks it's the Razorback she's dreaming. It's really freaky. I don't know how she didn't freak out more, but she got to be somewhat sedated. But she's got to stay on the protocol. Was a nice, interesting little line there. Miller's like, okay, just that, just yeah, but just don't go to Earth. Um, I think that was really fun, and then just the visual. Hey, the Nauvoo missed. No, it didn't miss, man. And I like how they did the visuals on the camera there. That was pretty fun to see, and the death in space scenes, uh, very striking. It's gonna take you. People think you die pretty quick in space. It takes a while. You basically the oxygen leaves your skin, and then basically why you die is because there's no atmosphere, for the most part. All your oxygen leaves your skin, your body, so you can't breathe. You basically are asphyxiated to death and
That's a
freeze kind of at the same time. It's
bad way to die.
Yeah, it doesn't visually look crazy or anything, but it's not really good.
So I found some stuff about season 4. You want me to
There we go.
talk about it? So, according to denofgeek.com, I don't know how, this was from June 6th. They said The Expanse has wrapped its production for season 4, and now and we got all the news surrounding the show's move to Amazon Prime. So it says
Nice.
The Expanse season 4 will be coming to Amazon, which has made a deal with Alcon Entertainment to continue the series for a fourth season and perhaps beyond. The move, then it talks about how the move happened. It was overwhelming success, and it's critical, and its consistent ratings on Sci-Fi, which chose not to continue to distribute the series. And it talks about how that the president, not the president, the co-founders and co-CEOs of Alcon Entertainment are excited that Amazon picked up The Expanse, and and a quote is, "The Expanse transported us across the solar system for 3 billion seasons of television," says President Chris McCumber, president of Entertainment Works for NBC Universal, after the cancellation. "Everyone at Sci-Fi was a massive fan of the series, and it was an incredibly difficult decision. We want to thank The Expanse's cast, crew, and the dedicated creatives."
Blah blah blah. I'm just, but yeah, it's just him. Oh, I'm so sorry. We love this show. They do that all the time. What they gonna come out? Hey, this show was a dumpster fire. We had to cancel it. No, no.
No
Like,
one loved
we
this
suck.
show.
We don't have enough money, or we just don't want to pay that much because
Yeah.
we can't make $1 billion a year. We need to make $2 billion a year, and it's unacceptable if we make $1 less than that. So that's basically the big line from that there. But I do like how excited everyone is. The actors love it. They love it. I have you see actors that love to do things, but these actors really love this show, this set. Amos, I can't remember the actor's name behind the scenes. He likes doing all of his own stunts, and and the wire work for when you're in space, the anti-gravity. They have to do so many things. They have to know how to hold their arm. They have to study all these things, how to move to mimic anti-gravity. So it takes so much work for these people.
So,
It's very impressive. It's very impressive.
yeah.
So it's
So
definitely something you should,
yeah,
if you take the time to watch it, it's something I would definitely recommend.
most definitely. It's one of those shows where I am kind of a still newbie to sci-fi, and I really enjoy it. It's one of those shows where it's like, ooh, like the limitless possibilities that come with sci-fi. So, it's said that the show has a new um, showrunner for this show, and uh, pardon me if I don't pronounce his name correctly, but it's Naren Shankar. He is known for CIS, Crime Scene Investigation, The Outer Limits, Star Trek: The Next Generation, Zero Hour. So just some pretty cool. He was like a consulting producer on some of these, but Grimm, Almost Human, and now he's involved
Hmm.
with The Expanse.
Well, it's
So
looking up pretty good. Hopefully
and
they'll keep working on it. I think that it's like a passion project for them, so that has me really excited for it.
well,
Let's go with a couple of more scenes that we like, and then we'll talk about
and
the long night here in just a few.
and they got some new additions to the show, and which will be fun to watch. So yeah, we got some new characters, and they're saying that it'll still come out by 2019. That's what they're thinking.
So I'm hoping fall, but I wouldn't be
Mhm.
mad at a nice Christmas present of the Expanse. I
Yeah,
don't
and
really
it'll
get
be
any presents or whatever, but uh,
10 episodes long.
hey,
That's how
there's an anonymous ferret in my outline.
anonymous ferret. Yeah,
Hold
and then it just says that they'll have
on.
10 episodes this season. So a little bit less. Yeah, it's okay. 10, 10 episodes, which is
I'm
less
about to
than their
choke on my
usual
coffee.
run. So, but who knows? They may be longer, and more jammed packed with more action. So yeah, that's kind of got what they've got going on. Um, yeah, it'll be
Oh
fun to
yeah,
watch.
Anastasia, right? I just thought
Hmm.
about that. That's a really good thing. She blows him full of brains out, son.
Hmm.
Know what I mean? That was pretty good. I do like. What do you think about Fred Johnson? Kind of right now. Now he has the proto molecule now too. Do you see his eyes when
Yeah,
he opened that damn thing up and saw the proto molecule?
yeah. It was kind of crazy because Fred Johnson kind of toes the line between a good character and a character that you're just kind of like, "Oh, I don't know about this one. He's probably just a bad person waiting in the shadows." His character evolved a lot from the first season. He became more involved with our core group of characters. Um, he's still kind of on the outs for me. Naomi obviously made the deal with Fred Johnson to give him the proto molecule. I don't know if this is the smartest decision because Fred Johnson's kind of leading a rebellion ish, so to speak, against the
Hmm.
Earthers and the Martians because the Belters are treated as like third class or lower class citizens compared to the Earthers and the Martians.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
depending on how far Fred Johnson can get, I wonder how crazy he can get with the proto molecule and how far it spreads. Because
Well,
he
I
could,
mean, it's only got to really spread to one person, right? And then the wrong person. He touches it. Somebody messes up in the lab, drops something. It's just bound to happen. And don't spoil us for season 3, or at least don't spoil Sasa.
mhm,
Don't make me yell at you. Okay. Yeah,
mhm,
I thought that was Anastasia's really
mhm,
cool character introduction. Nice strong belter accent, which I find good. You can barely understand her, so it's good,
mhm.
and not in a bad way. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and
the, let's see, Lady H of the North said favorite battle scene was when they were going to the planet when Alex was kicking ass, and he how hard did he work on that battle plan? I mean, he just mapped and tracked and mapped and tracked. And this man is the most dedicated pilot I've ever seen. If you want someone flying for you, it best be Alex, in my opinion, because he's not gonna give up. He's gonna keep practicing until he figures
Mhm.
it out, and that's his passion. Uh, the only person I don't think has any type of passion is Holden. It's a passion to do the right thing. So
Or he
only
has a
these people have
passion for
passion.
Naomi. That's about it until
Bow,
obviously she
bow,
drops
bow.
the bomb, which she does. Um, yeah, and Anastasia, she's doing what she wants to do and what she thinks is right for the Earthers because she's part of the UN and she's responsible for so many lives, and she obviously doesn't want to have this war against the Martians and the Belters. So when I think like her scene with Bobby Draper on the beach in New York is actually quite an interesting scene because she says, "Oh yeah, your people wanted to kind of kill you in this testing run," and Bobby she doesn't believe it. So yeah, that relationship will be interesting to see moving forward because um, of what happened at the end um, with Bobby's character.
Yeah, she's, I guess, to the Martians. She's turned over to the dark side, whatever you want to call it. But I think she's kind of seeing how the world works, and a woman whose name I can never pronounce that was a heavy smoker for 100 years is she wants to do the right thing. You know, you got Aaron Wright who, God, what a skis bag. The beach scene's really good. You know those
Pretty,
Earthers just take it for granted, and that's probably one of the most beautiful things she's ever seen in her entire life.
especially because that's supposed to be New York, and I don't think there's much beaches in that specific area of New York. Um, but maybe like Long Island, but that's besides the point. But they make Earth look very nice, but still kind of what we're able to conceptualize in our own mind.
Hey
So,
Tim, I can call her Ava, right? Yeah, just let me know. Keep going, Sasa. Sorry.
yeah, no, it's just like the beach is very interesting. As like, um, when I was watching this, I was like, she better not go in that water because who knows what's in the waters in New York City, especially the public water, like a lake or a rip or something like that, or at the ocean. But she didn't. She just put her toes on the sand, which she's I'm assuming never done before because she's from space. So that
Nah,
was
Tim. I
like a
refuse to pronounce that. Abasarala. There you go. Does that help you? Abasarala.
yeah.
Abasarala. Okay.
Yeah. They're now they're laughing at in the chat, either at me or at you. No, they're laughing at me because I said I wouldn't walk into New York water.
No, the first thing I said, I bet she steps on a hypoderm. She
Yeah.
took off her shoes. It's like, oh no, you don't do that.
But
Especially not around not in like a shanty town. You definitely don't take your shoes off.
wouldn't it but wouldn't that bother her like body because of the G's and the gravity pull that like because I thought those were like special shoes that you had to wear.
No, I don't know about those shoes. I don't know. I can't
No,
remember. But she's
no,
supposed to.
because I remember now that it's
You mean the
the
gravity boots?
yeah,
And what's his name got them? The doctor, the dad.
yeah, Dr. May, I think his name is, or
He
he's
may,
May's father.
he may he may need to go get his head checked out. Uh,
Yeah.
yes, this is fun. Um, well, I'll try to get into a little more of season three, and we'll cover some of the characters, especially once I get caught up with the books. And we are counting down until season four comes out, so be on the lookout for that. I think we're about to switch over in just a second. A couple more things here. Let's see who else.
Santavia Major says that I don't want anyone to say that my name is hard to pronounce when you can pronounce her name.
Wait,
That's,
Santavia, am I saying that right?
no, it's
Don't
like
don't let me disrespect you.
to other people, I guess. Um,
Well, it's just when you see it, at a glance, I think you want to say different stuff when you see Centavia's name, but if you actually just read it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That happens
So
with me with a lot of names, though. I'm really bad at that at first. Like, Hermione was in here, from
Harry
Harry
Potter.
Potter. Somebody's name was Hermione. I was calling him Hermione.
Yeah. I
I'm
was like,
like,
what?
shit, man. Like, it's Hermione, though. Damn it. Pretty close.
You'll have to phonetically spell it out for John. Yeah.
Is it Tevia? Santivia? See, you gotta make me just. Okay, so I gotta get on with the show before I just sit here and try to pronounce people's names the whole time. So, what did you have anything else you want to talk about before we got to the long night time? I know this wasn't a really long segment, but if you got anything else you want to throw out there,
Um, one
or
of the kind
Heine.
of one of the last kind of things which
Oh, it is TV. Okay.
we can talk about. I don't know how much far you want to talk about it, but
Yeah,
it's the
Hermione. It's Hermione. Hey, I just said it how it's spelled, Danny McKay. And nobody tells me it's Hermione. Y'all just let me keep saying it like that until I figure it out on my own. So y'all are the real assholes out there.
the last thing that we can kind of talk about maybe is the search
Jevia.
for the little girl, because that's a big part of the latter part of the season.
Is it? Do you like them searching for the little girl? Do you think
Yeah,
what happened to her?
she
That
got taken.
that.
She got taken by the bad man. Um,
Oh,
and
so sad.
she, yeah, because they talk about how she was born and everything, and how she needs special medication. So there's worry about she could run out of her special medication.
Oh,
But there,
hold up, Tim F. We're not talking about Blood Moon. We're talking about the Long Night in Essos, the World of Ice and Fire. Now, if anything associates to what we may think of being the show, maybe, but we're just going to talk about a bunch of cool stuff that involves the Long Night in Essos. Just so you know, I'm not never mind. I'll shut up before I get myself in trouble. But yes, keep going, Sasa. I had to make that clear. I understand the difference.
Blood Moon is a weird, but it's the working title. Remember, it's not the official title yet. But when they're looking for her, it's very reminiscent of other shows where they have to like look for a little girl, and yet we kind of leave that off on a very suspicious note, because there's the belief that she's already died because of some destruction that's happened on a part of one of the ships. So it's just finding the little girl, because they realize that she may not be dead after all. And there's the bad man stole her away from her parents or her father.
Yeah, it really puts in perspective what's at stake here. Even the kids and what these people are willing to do to accomplish their vision or their main goal and main plan. But I'd call it the working title. Santivia, yes. See, I can say your name right every now and then. I think, hopefully. She said yes, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So,
That's
I'm going to invite these people in, and hopefully they know it's live, but you'll hear a little bit of music or whatnot while we got it going on here. And we'll be back in just a second to talk about the long night in Essos. Y'all ready? Say bye, Sasa. You're never coming back.
okay.
This is your last episode ever. All right.
Apparently now my last episode for on Nooner's News. It was a great run, Johnny. I'll be greatly missed, I feel like, in the chat, even though that's very presumptuous. And
Very presumptuous.
but I know that I meant that I'll be greatly missed in the chat.
Yeah, it's pretty presumptuous, but we'll see you one of these days.
Yeah, maybe one day I'll come back.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you in just a few. Yeah, I see y'all in the chat. Hold tight for me. A little bit of ASMR, Johnny. Welcome to W9 107.5.
guys. Hit a high.
Yo, 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 everybody. Well, of course, I have caused some technical difficulties, so we're just gonna kind of talk to you till everybody gets here. Uh, First show, working out all of these different issues because we get to, gonna have a lot of visuals here, working back and forth with sounds and stuff like that. Trying to get everybody on the panel, but John and Justin will be here. We will be talking about the long night in Essos, and we'll talk a little bit how it relates to the prequel, but so, mainly we're going to go over some of the lore. We're going to go over everything from uh, the Bone Mountains or the Bones, UT and the Empire of the Dawn. A couple of key points there. Azora High and Ashai. Children of the Forest in Essos. In near Ibish. There's a couple of good things here. Bloodstone Emperor, stuff like that. Now, not saying we'll cover everything today, but this will be a running series because there's a lot of things to talk about with the Long Night. We still got some stuff in Westeros to talk about with the Children of the Forest as well. And we'll see if we can hear John one of these days. I think the what do you call it? I think the light of day is taking his vampire voice away. Nah, yeah, we can't hear you, bro. They still love you though. So
Just need a second.
yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about the Bones. If people don't know about the Bones, it's the largest known mountain range in the known world, largest mountain range in the known world. I think it's 100 leagues east to west and 500 leagues north to south. It's named the Bones for all the animal and human bones that are strewn across it. There are traps. There are many trails leading in, only 3 coming out. You could say it's a lot like the wall in Westeros, which I think is very interesting. The Dothraki come from here. They don't really talk about what they fled from, but they did flee from this area. This is what separates the Dothraki Sea from Yeti and other lands like the Ngai uh, and stuff of that nature. I can't remember the exact name of what their lands are called, and Ashai. And we do know the long night hit Essos, especially up at the top. We have a pocket of forest that's close to the bones as well that seemingly is associated with the woods walkers, or what seem to be the children of the forest. But, Sasa, what did you think when you read about the Bones Mountains? It's pretty interesting. I know, in the world of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, when you read about the bones, it kind of gives some sort of like mysterious, slightly element, and you wonder why this has been happening and why what this means. Like, was it magical that created this sort of bone mountain, or was it just because of just this was just an easy place to kind of, or was there something like a natural event that caused just people a significant amount of people in that area to just be sort of buried and
Like
burned?
dispossessed. I think the long night happened there, honestly, and this was like where a last stand was with possibly Azor Ahai, Nefarion, and all of that jazz. And it does trace back to Ashai and also the Yeti-ish legends. Azor Ahai is Yeti, but Ashai carries that mantle along with a lot of priestesses, moon singers. Everybody that delves in dark arts goes to Ashai. It's such a damn mysterious place. It seems like definitely the birthplace of dragons. That's what the legends say. They say that dragons are still there to this day. Everything seems to be completely radioactive, but I am getting off topic. We'll stay a little bit on the bones. Um, and like I said before, the Dothraki fleet from there. A couple of um, people have, but I think it's the long night is what this major event was. Makes sense to me that that's where all these bones come from. Um, and it makes me think about the Bridge of Skulls of New Westeros. Mic check 1 2, John. I'm
Still,
sorry for laughing at you, but damn, that sound every damn time, man. I don't know what it is. Check your mic input on your settings in Hangouts, possibly.
mhm.
Let's
But
see.
yeah, so
Oh yeah,
there's
go check out the Fandom 3 for sure. If you, that's our new podcast with Justin Thomas, MackenzieLBurns. We're on iTunes now. The Art of the Critique. We pick something new that drops every week, whether it be literature, movie, film, and all that stuff. You can leave a voicemail on Anchor. You can send us stuff in. We'll reply to you and take requests. Also check us out on Patreon. We're getting everything going. So it's awesome. Appreciate that, Steve.
yeah, thank you. Tim
Hey
F had
Cindy Sammy, what's good? What's good?
yeah.
Glad to have you here.
Tim F had the question. I don't know if we want to answer it right now, but he had the question of how do you think the long night affected parts of Westeros or Essos, sorry, if at all.
Well, I think that's why the Dothraki invaded. That's why we get the Dothraki coming, taking over the Dothraki Sea, and all of those gods, those people killed. You could argue a couple more people came through there, but it seems like mainly the Dothraki, possibly fleeing the long night, uh, in my opinion. I'll try to delve
Mhm.
into it a little bit more. Um, don't you just love tech, guys? Everybody in the chat, tech issues suck balls.
Technology is our friend, only sometimes.
Yeah, not on Fridays, is it? No.
No, let's hope.
But if you see the bones there, I think the wall is what is it? How many leagues long is it? I can't remember now. I had it right here,
You
but
just
I don't know. I think this is very similar. And let me see what 10 F's question was again. Yeah, I think whatever happened the long night, whether it be a spell that they used, because this comet has come through before, the red comet, and I think that all of the moon singers, all of the shadow binders, there was a great spell cast at Ashai that
yeah.
caused this giant explosion and wiped out everything, vitrified the glass. Well, this glass seemingly soaks up the sun, so it has some sort of magical property.
What?
It's all good, John.
Yeah.
It's all
Don't.
good, buddy. It's all good, buddy.
It's okay.
I can take care of this chicken. No worries, my friend.
Yeah. There we go.
No worries. Although I couldn't read every single bit of that, but I kind of know what you mean. DMV sucks.
Hmm. Well,
Justin Thomas from Top Shelf Fandom, my son. How are you doing, bro?
I am in a rush. I'm sorry for being late. Can you hear me?
Yes, your sound is good, my friend. It's all right. Trying to get this show together to where it's working properly anyway. So you know, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
I'm just running up and down some stairs and realizing how out of shape I really am. So excuse my breathing.
Well, let's.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead and I'll see where you guys are at. I actually printed up your outline. So happy to be here though. For anybody who isn't familiar with me, Justin Thomas from Top Shelf Fandom. And I like stories.
Yeah, hey, you want to tell everybody? Well, get yourself together. We'll tell everybody. We already told everybody about the podcast. We'll give them another
Yeah.
drop. Had
We can
a
pitch it, plug it
nice
in.
person in the chat drop it for us in there. So hopefully, everybody check it out. It's fun. It's a good time. We're gonna get with it. So, I was talking about the bones. Um, and how the Bone Mountains, it seemingly is like the wall in Westeros. This is where the Dothraki fled through. The stories are varied as to why they fled, but this mountain's strewn with there's bones of animals and people everywhere, and this seemingly is from the Long Night, in my opinion. That's kind of where we're at. Had a couple questions from the chat, like how did the Long Night affect Essos? And I think it affected everything definitely east of this mountain range for sure.
Yeah, and I'll let you go on from there. But when I'm getting this information in front of me, but I definitely agree with that assessment. The implications that the dragon riders came from Ashai originally, not Valeria, and there is implications of the architecture and everything deriving from not just Essos in the sense of Valyria, but now like Ashai is the largest area of land in Planetos, and it's vacant now. So it's kind of just that prehistory where it's all of this creating life out of death, and all those creation myths that start off with a disaster. It's like a nihilistic or whatever. So yeah, I definitely am in the same page. It's just like the wall. It has forts. It's got that perfect mix of science and magic. So yeah, I'm in with you on that one.
it almost seems like that's the perfect, not the perfect, as because it's bones, but it's the dichotomy of hot and cold weather almost in some aspects, like the effects of that with like
Oh yeah,
obviously
the
Westeros.
north, how frozen it is, and the south, how it's windswept and just dry as a bone. And then Lomas Longstrider, who's kind of a person who wrote a lot of things, including the Jane Compendium, if I'm saying it right. He when he saw this is another comparison to the wall. He thought it was the end of the world. So, and that's another description of what we hear in the books and stuff from what people see when they see the wall. Tyrion wants to piss off the edge of the world. So,
Yeah, maybe that the wall of bones essentially, or the bones, is to kind of be like this is the point where this is where at West Essos, sorry, ends, and that Ashai is almost like the lands beyond always winter, like lands of always winter, and it's like you don't want to go to Ashai, just how you don't really want to go beyond the wall, almost.
Yeah, like what is? I guess we have to ask the question is, because we see these huge structures, both natural and man-made, or made with some sort of magical or occult aspect, and they're not only separating like geography, but they're separating cultures. Like obviously cultures go with where they are in the world. They assimilate to their values, and all that have to go to what they need to do to survive, and that changes. But I guess that's a great question, is how different is the Shadowlands than Valyria, and then Westeros, the cultural divide, the actual geographical divide, and so forth. what are they trying to keep out, and what happens when we see them merge? What do we see? What technologies come? What spiritual beliefs come, and so forth.
Yeah, the Ngai who are on the other side of the mountain have these crazy beliefs. They do this head binding ritual. They all have bald heads. If you're a warrior, you're a woman and you want to be a warrior, you got to live as a man. If you're a man and you want to be a moon singer, which is their form of like prophet, you have to be you have to live as a female. So it kind of has a little bit of a transgender aspect. You know, whatever you choose as far as your career path, basically, you have to live that out in your gender, which I find very, very intriguing.
Yeah, I guess like, I mean, because after, you got Dawn Age, then Age of Heroes, and then, you have the start of like, Valeria's rise. So, we have to like look at like what technologies went over the Westeros after the doom of Valyria, but also what technologies and belief systems went over to Westeros after what happened around supposedly the first long night, where you seem to have people fleeing from the Shadowlands to a whole bunch of regions that are surrounded by volcanoes. So that would kind of make sense as well. And then, we see architecture and building methods pop up in Westeros far before Dragonstone, like, the base of the High Tower and so forth. That just brings in the question of when did certain people come over? What did they bring with them, and what was their reasoning? We see a lot of people come into power after fleeing like some tragic event. I don't know if you'd agree with that. It just seems like that's just a trend. I mean, George is all about existential crisis. It's always they're always facing certain doom, and the Targaryens rise to power as minor dragon lords because they got the hell out of there. So who got the hell out of the Shadowlands, and why? Is it the Long Night? Is it something else? Those are the questions.
Yeah, it seems like it was a thriving civilization in my point. It seems to be an immense place that has no children and barely any people there. The most people that are there are adults. Water has to be brought in for this place. They can't even drink the water that's there. So some kind of catastrophic, what I think is a magic cataclysm, happened there. Something to defeat the Long Night, having to do with the power of the Red Comet, which that's why we get all these lores of the moon and all this stuff. Because I don't think it's a literal. And Mike check for John St. Baptiste. Nothing, buddy.
Um, when you're getting that check, yeah, I think that when we talk about like all these events that have to do with comets and all these like slash magical slash like scientific crap that goes down, for lack of a better word, like we see that continue on though with like the Danes with Dawn, and the sword supposedly crafted out of part steel, part of a meteor, and so forth. So you see like these certain aspects come, and it's the prehistory. What we have, the 300 years of the dynasty of the Targaryens. That's really the only like what I guess in our world would be considered to be like actual recorded history, not spoken word. So I mean, like, I guess the question is how much of this is meant to stay, like you said, like not literal, because it is like people's folklore and their mythos is a big tell about what their culture is, because they choose to tell their stories in broader strokes that transcend time, and that should be a representation of what they are, or at least what they're trying to convey themselves as. So it's interesting to see what these cultures bring as far as their spiritual beliefs, and again, even the way they build things, the way they live. Did they come over there to try to enslave the giants to build for them? Did the children come and work with the believers of R'hllor? There's so many questions and there's so many things they could play with here, because it's meant to be unclear. So I'm really curious to see in the prequel how much will be disclosed, because kind of the reason for a lot of this lore is for it never to be like cemented down as fact. So, but of course we're going to get something, we're going to get some more solid information, but I just think it would really hurt this story if you went too deep into this, because those are the interesting questions, and it's always leave it up to the imagination.
depending on, I can't remember exactly the timeline, but it's like depending on when, because, and plus they're messing with the timeline anyways in the prequel, we could see that we get, because we're getting both continents in the prequel technically, that we could see the maybe finishing of the wall that we know, but then also maybe the finishing slash the development of the wall of bones, essentially, just to kind of bring us and kind of maybe connect the prequel and with on both sides of the known world, even though there's more parts of it. Because there's going to have to be a way that they connect both pieces, both storylines.
I agree. I think we're gonna get like shadow binders from a shy. Some of those people in the lacquered mask. We're gonna have to see that, like a Quaithe type character, and there, there is very little known from these about any of these people. Usually on the east, ET maybe the most, the place we know most about, and that's where we get the Zora High legend. But everywhere else, it's like Maester Brian, and yes, I said Maester Brian. And I think maybe Koloko Vokar and Corlys Valerian and the other guy I mentioned earlier, Lummus Longstrider. It's just a handful of people. The Maesters don't have much from over there. And one Maester that actually went to Qohor uh, was almost killed for trying to see how Valyrian steel was made, was reforged. So they seem to be somewhat more primitive, or at least closed off as a culture, and keep to their culture. Seems to be way stronger in Essos, especially when you get on the other side of the bones.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty much the Orient, right? It's all these mysteries. It's a mix between like Egyptian mythos and the history of the Orient. You got all these aspects that come over. Like nothing adds up. It's always like even the Sword Dawn, like they weren't working with steel at that time, and like part of Dawn is steel. The High Tower's base, they didn't have the technology for that. This is a time of wood forts, right? And hill forts, and then they're building Storm's End, which is supposedly like a like just flawless like building that is stone. So it's always this mash of magic, also with real world like architecture, and but there's always like though it's always a conflict. It's like, okay, so they can't build this now, and they couldn't build this then for a certain reason, whether it be the technology or the supposed magic, like in the wall and so forth. So it's always like it's always missing an element, right? There's always that one part that doesn't make sense. It's like how were these forts built in Westeros that just were so just on such a large level,
Yeah, the
vastly
five
different,
forts.
right? Like you have like some technology that's like NASA, and then some technology that's like like horse and wagon essentially.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, I think it's just an ancient civilization that we've lost. We've had this world extinction event that was the Long Night previously. I think there's been tons of technology lost, and maybe Westeros was a more primitive land, where Ashai was an Atlantis of sorts. You can make some comparisons with Ashai to Atlantis, even though it's not really an island. But the way the mythical city about it, how it used to be so luxurious, um, it's it's gotta have a key role. I don't think we hear myths about dragons coming out of there for no particular reason whatsoever. But I don't think dragons are straight magic, because we do hear of wild dragon bones. Whether or not that's true.
But like even with that said, I agree. Like like we fascinating. There's a lot to work with, but it's not uniform. But you're right; it has to be connected. Look, you have the long night, and you see the people leave the Shadowlands, and then you get the boom of Valyria, and then the doom of Valyria leads to Westeros' boom. I mean, like there's a direct correlation there. They just go right in a row. So it seems like every time some disaster happens, people flee, and the people that make it end up pretty much adding to the boom of another age in civilization. But it's only out of death, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, man. How's it going, John St. Baptiste? What is
Oh my
good?
gosh. I am so sorry, everybody. I'm terribly
Don't apologize.
embarrassed.
Don't ever apologize. First rule: haven't you seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Wolf Cola? Don't ever apologize.
I drink Wolf Cola. I'm a brand ambassador.
Fandom, I'm glad to see you. Mackenzie, it's great. Johnny, always a pleasure. You are my other half.
Ha.
I can't, I'm not even going to mess with the chat right now. I don't even want to touch anything. So, anybody who's out there, hello. Thank you for coming out. And I love you.
Awesome.
I just spent an hour and a half at the DMV before I had to deal with all these sound issues. And I'm ready to spit nails.
Oh, good. If you know what the Bone Mountains are, right?
Yes.
Got them in the notes.
Oh, I've been listening this whole time and watching.
Oh, okay, good.
I haven't been able to hear anything.
Good. Well, give your spiel, man. Go ahead and just ramble on whatever you want, and we'll jet off from there. Then we'll get into Azor Ahai and maybe the Bloodstone Emperor. I think those are connected.
I very much agree with Justin that everything Essos is this idealized concept of the East that the West has. It's what's really interesting is there's no, with the exception of crossing plains or not plains, crossing narrows. There's no connection between the West and the East because it's almost metaphorical of Rome and China. And there was trade between Rome and China. There were just 2,000 middle persons in between.
I love that. I just want to say that was something I wanted to bring up, and I love that concept because I'm in complete agreement with you on that.
I'm glad he stole it from you.
No, but it's fascinating, and it's disputed, like about how that went down, about how we're talking about Roman times, not we're not talking about the Renaissance era, we're not even talking about the Byzantine reign, we're talking about like Roman, during the time of the Republic and the Empire. So it's I think that's a very good connection right there.
Yeah, I've never, after my second reading, I've never really thought of Westeros, and this is coming from somebody who still plays tabletop Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I've never thought of Westeros as medieval. I don't think of most D&D conventions as medieval. They're like high fantasy, which has nothing to do with medieval society. But I've never thought of Westeros as medieval. Certainly not Renaissance. I think one of two things has happened. Either because of some circumstance, they are stuck in the Middle Iron Age, or they just don't remember.
The North remembers, supposedly.
The North remembers when it's convenient. That's what I've always said.
Yeah, that's very true, especially in the show.
I'm not a North fan, though. I'll take my swarthy skin and my I'll go ahead and be my Sandy Dorn, because that's what I do.
Dorn is more of an Orient,
almost like Persian.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, I cover all the swear words. And
now it's on. Should be on. Should pop back any second. All right, everyone. I'm sorry for that.
Nope, I think we're good. I see us back on. Yeah, it's who the cultures decide to identify themselves with, meaning like what deities, what, do they come from the first men, the Andals? Do they come from, these power structures that are more occult, like with the Bloodstone Emperor and stuff like that? Like the Ironborn are very fascinating that way. They spawn literally from the water, like you just see it's it's very telling to see how people choose to identify themselves using their mythos, and we see that present today. That's why we have folklore. It's to learn about certain cultures and ethnicities that don't have as much representation tend to rely on that more, because the story of like say America, coming out of the revolution doesn't exactly like hit home for an African American citizen these days. Or you know what I mean? Like everybody's got their own story. Unfortunately, some are way more harsh, their journey. But it's just a legend. Well, I shouldn't say legend, because myth. People, when they hear like Greek myth and prehistory, they think myth, fake, but it's mythos. It's something that it sticks around. It's like just an embodiment. Yes, it's a oversimplification. It's events combined and merged together to convey an idea. Whether it's fully accurate or not is up for debate, but it's still very telling that to look at which cultures identify with which belief systems and in their creations.
I can't remember the name of the writer. I recently read a paper by a professor of mythology who wrote about, his argument was that Greek mythology is mostly there to tell you how not to behave.
Yeah. Well, that's it. This is a perfect segue. You got the Bloodstone Emperor, which is GT-ish legend, and the legendary ninth and last ruler of the mythic great empire of the Dawn. I think that's very key. George uses these words. Brother of the Amethyst Empress, in his jealousy, he killed her and took the crown, proclaiming himself Bloodstone Emperor. The maiden, maid of light, turned her back upon the world, and the line of night was set forth to punish man. And I'll read really quick the Azor Ahai legend. Darkness lay over the world, and a hero, Azor Ahai, was chosen to fight against it. To fight the darkness, Azor Ahai needed to forge a hero's sword. He labored for 30 days and 30 nights until it was done. However, when he went to temper it in water, the sword broke. He was not one to give up easily, so he started over. The second time, it took it 50 days and 50 nights to make the sword. Even better than the first, to temper it this time, he captured a lion and drove the sword into his heart, but once more the steel shattered. The third time, with a heavy heart, for he knew beforehand what he must do to finish the blade, he worked it for 100 days and nights until it was finished. This time he called his wife forth, Nisa, and asked her to bear her breast. And everybody knows how it goes from there. He drove the heart into the sword, it forged, and then it burst into flames while John's cat just basically rips the microphone.
No, it was lightning.
Oh, really? Be careful, man. That was weird. I thought Shade's butt was rubbing up on the microphone.
No, I'd put it up on the screen for you to check out.
Yeah, I thought that was perfect to throw in there while y'all were talking about that, because it makes perfect sense. And like you said, the Bloodstone Emperor, that's definitely a tale to tell the men. And that goes back to the 13th Lord Commander. Now, I know it's different. It's supposedly after the Long Night, but he made this great folly by giving his children to the others. But you always hear of these fairy tales, and Jerem seems to put those in there. Like we have the Mother Goose tales. If you read the actual original ones, those Grimm fairy tales is creepy, man. Creepy. But
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, jump in whenever you need be. I just like to ramble on, I guess.
No,
Go ahead.
I think that, yeah, like we're talking about the legends of certain characters, or whether they are real or not, like Azor Ahai, they even exist into almost present day Westeros. And I feel like that may be just a thing of like having to believe in something almost for these people. It's like, yeah, this one person wanted to do all of this to save the world. Whether they did it or not is yet to be uncovered or written, because the maesters, they don't even know half the time what they're writing. So, but
they do. They know.
As you shake your head, it's like, nah.
Those fucking gray rats know.
Them sons of bitches, you sons of bitches, Papa says. And a Christmas story. Also, D. Reynolds likes to say that.
Sorry, Kinsey.
So no, and the fact that they try to even place this type of person throughout history is like or they put it almost onto one person in present day A Song of Ice and Fire, and not so much before the main story, which I'm surprised that there's not a suspicion of who this person could have been. Obviously, because we don't have
John, that's scary, man. That's some wild
Yeah,
lightning, bro.
it sounds like Armageddon. Like,
I
it sounds
know.
like
He is
the end-
Crawley.
the
I
end
just
of
don't want
time.
to touch my mute button because I don't want to mess with my microphone.
so
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
yeah, even Bobby says she like lost internet for a second. Yeah, it's like
Bobby's like 700 freaking miles away from me.
John turned into a bat. And then he turned back. That's what
you are
did,
Crowley from Good Omens.
Well, it's all about creating something from nothing, right? And that's what I mean by like the ex nihilo myth. Like it's that's the stories, it is more the creation stories, but it's always dealing with these same situations of establishing civilization and culture through chaos. And it's just throughout all time. And like John said, a moment ago about the first Greek tragedies, those were all just really commentary on the human condition, which is why this lore does lend itself to what George does and creating your own lore. I mean, and your own kind of mythos. It's there. Oedipus. It's these are stories about these are like stories that warn you about certain follies in behavioral traits that don't work out for you. Ambition, it's the gods have already got you fated, and you're working against them, just trying to just live the best you can, even though that essentially their beliefs were what the finals the gods had the final say. So yeah, they were more like life lessons. Not until like later in even the right before like Roman times did you get, meaning the rise of the Roman Empire, did you start getting like plays that didn't even have gods in them. Like all plays just were solely comprised of gods for the longest of times, just to teach lessons. And it was like just commentary on like ethical and moral behavior, what is right, what is wrong, the question of like universal good and stuff like that. So these are broad stories that you see pop up again, like with the Bloodstone Emperor. And I'd be interested to hear what you think about this, Johnny. And everybody that came after him, you do see like a little bit of the aspects of that dynasty with like Stannis's character, right? With all of the gems that in the books in which they reference. I believe Catelyn references it in the first book. Then you have his connection with Melisandre, which obviously also involves these gemstones that have this occult aspect to it, this magical power and so forth. So you see like people just taking bits and pieces, but yeah, it's mythos. It's just something that it stands the test of time, and it's a broader message.
Yeah, it does, and you can definitely see the correlation with the Bloodstone Emperor and Stannis, who actually used a shadow to kill his brother. There's a lot of correlations there. And I just want to add in really quick, because I think we may figure out a little bit more mystery. We know we have Ashai, the Bloodstone Emperor. They seem to be really strong on this, so maybe Ashai was actually part of the Great Empire of the Dawn when the God King on Earth was there, right? This is said to be more vast than Valyria ever thought it could be. Reminds me of maybe the Mongol nation, but super duper more advanced. And I akin the Dothraki more to Mongols right now, maybe even before Genghis Khan arrived. With Danny maybe even being Genghis Khan. Holy smokes. But we can talk about that another day. I don't know if I'm getting blasphemous here. But in New Ibish, which is, if you look at the left of the mountains here that I have on the screen, you see the forest up at the top there. You have the woods walkers, the Dothraki call them. And the Ibish, who are famous for whaling. They kind of look like Neanderthals. Short legs, long arms, really hairy, about 5.5 feet tall. Great at wrestling. And they give these offerings of wood, stone, and water every day. And you see every night they give this, and you hear that they are small, but no one's really ever seen them. Mind you, a lot of the children of the forest, which leads back into maybe a lot of this land connecting and this lost history of everything that's seemingly been scorched of their entire existence. I don't think they have to have weirwoods to live. I think that's just possibly a part of Westeros, and there could be other forms of nature or trees in Essos. Um, I'm just spitballing here and throwing out some stuff, but when it comes back to the legends, they seem to kind of tie in, and this is so close to the Bone Mountains, which, like we've talked about, kind of represents the wall in Essos. I don't think it's that much of a coincidence or that far of a leap to think that a lot of everything ended right there at the Bones Mountains, and someone, in my opinion, did a kamikaze type spell or something in a shy. But that's just me trying to jump to some tinfoil conclusions.
Well, what do you think about like the theories about the ghost grass in the Dothraki? That's another example of these. Because it's the idea of, was there 2 long nights? Was there really? I mean, I don't believe this.
Yeah.
I can't. If somebody that hasn't heard me ramble on forever is watching right now, I am adamantly against anybody that will ever tell you that any prophecy or anything like that will be literally fulfilled in this story. That is a fundamental misunderstanding of what this story is about. But you do. The question is still, where are they getting these stories from? Is it just 2 similar events happen? Or did the long night, extend over? Which that's what I believe George is trying to convey,
Oh, yeah.
because that's what mixes the cultures. But I'm still just posing, like everybody has like their idea of like the land of always winter. Like they are the White Walkers. It's always got the elements involved. And you see like, because they're nomadic, in the Children of the Forest, a representation more so of your Indian, Native American culture and stuff like that. So people that live off the land tend to worship the land because that's what gives them life. The Dothraki, they are nomadic, so their fear is this ghost grass. So it's I kind of like equate that to like the storm coming with the others. Like they look at the ghost grass as
Well, I
that.
could give you some direct correlations with the others. The ghosts are known as spirits. They are called ghosts or spirits sometimes. Then you have what the ghost grass actually does. It grows, it multiplies, and kills everything else living around it, just like the others do. So yeah, I think your correlation is perfect, but I think it is like a really super tight metaphor. The Dothraki are running for something, and they're not scared of shit. So it has to be, in my opinion, the others. I think you're right there, and I think it was all one long night. And the only thing that stopped and saved the rest of Essos is the bones, that mountain, and maybe something that the children of the forest in that pocket of the forest did. That's something we can speculate on. I don't think we'll ever get the exact answers to, but I'm pretty sure we can deduce that definitely the long night was over there as well. And we possibly have 2 completely different heroes where a lot of people want to connect them, but we'll see how the story's written for 2 or more different heroes that come together, or just have story paths that parallel one another, right?
Yeah, that is, when for my panel at the con, that's one of my main focuses. Or at least something that I have to mention is that you cannot underestimate the power of that parallel storytelling. That really, it's subconsciously, it's not something that you should be conscious of unless like you're somebody that is really into screenwriting or writing or something like that. If it's done well, you won't notice, but like the appeal of that parallel storytelling, that will not, like if we don't have a series that has that to some extent, and I would argue a fairly large extent, people are going to just feel they might not even know why. And I'm not saying it's because they're stupid. I'm saying it's because they don't sit around like me and read, a million different books or listen to a million different books on screenwriting and stuff like that. But if you really look at how that really changes that series and really is what sets it apart in many ways, if you don't inject something like that then people are just going to feel a certain amount of like emptiness with this. I think that's why they didn't go with things like I wanted, and I think Mackenzie wanted, like a lot of us, like Dunk and Egg, because that's such a linear, conventional narrative, which there's something to be said for just a good old fashioned, say this about Westworld all the time, something to be said for just a linear, story thread here that doesn't, deceive you at every turn and isn't just trying to trick you. There's something to be said for, yes, just telling a story. But I do think, we have to figure out how these events merge these people together, because you can't just have like people just show. You can't just have Essos and then Westeros and then the Summer Isles, right? And then tell different stories of these people, and then throw them together in Westeros at the end, because I do believe it'll be Westeros
This
centric.
ragtag group of heroes has come together to save the world.
Yeah, you can't be on the wallet, pretty much.
No.
We thought this would be great because all these characters
And
that
y'all
are
go
going to
ahead.
train together.
Be right
It's like,
back.
why don't you fucking think about what you just said? You thought this would be great because you realize none of these characters have been on screen together. Maybe that was for a reason, because there was logic before. So yeah, like they got to thread together. But like it could be something as simple as the Summer Isles. They do trade with both, Essos, and but specifically like Old Town as well. So like you can have a simple story thread there of simply somebody. It's not, it doesn't sound like intriguing, but you could definitely make it work if you just had somebody that was working on one of these ships, on one of the Swan, I believe that their vessels, they're called the Swan ships, right? Am I right on that? Yeah. So, have somebody on that crew. Maybe they're delivering something that Naomi Watts' character, the socialite with a dark secret, maybe they're bringing her something that she's not supposed to have, or information from Essos, like they are, that's your connection right there. That's
as an obsessive student of history, I love the concept of the Summer Isles being the connecting point between Essos and Westeros.
Yeah, it just
like Venice.
Yeah, and because the Summer Isles, they weren't even on HBO's maps, and George didn't even throw a fit on it about it. Like, of course, we hear like about Noth and all that, but really there was no. It seems like they are doing everything they can for this prequel to really have as much of a sandbox as possible. Also, and I hope it's going to be organic. I hope they don't inject the Summer Isles just to try to inject diversity for diversity's sake. And if they have diversity, they better have diversity within their writing staff, because like that's something that I've always liked about George when he's asked about why isn't there more of these types of people, more that he's like, I'm an old white guy. I can't, so I write what I know, that's why I support other like ethnicity, write other cultures and societies writers, that are of different ethnic backgrounds and so forth. I can't write a story about Oriental people, like,
Right.
and be like, oh, look at me, look at how much of a great guy I am because I wrote this great empowering story about some Oriental people there, and I have no clue about what they go through or what their lifestyle is like, because I'm not Oriental, so I'm not Asian.
No, I'm white Irish trash. I could write about that, but I couldn't write I Know Where the Caged Bird Sings.
Yeah, so
yeah, I agree with you very much.
So I like the idea of having because you could easily have a protagonist that you give the protagonist, maybe it's a guy that works on one of the cargo ships and that's the connection point. You give him a loved one, somebody he cares about. You give him a family. And so whatever he's doing, maybe he or she, it can be a she, is doing something that puts them into some sort of danger if they are found out. So there's stakes on the line for them, but they're connecting, they're merging these two continents. And it's like, I just don't think there's enough like lore for, the Summer Isles, other than like kind of like the Wakanda like atmosphere, the utopia. There's not a lot of specific people that come out of that I think they picked it for a reason, is my point, that it's so vague they can play with it as much as they want.
Yeah, I don't even think Nymeria stopped there on her way. I think she stopped
on the
in
way
Xanatar,
back
didn't
on
she?
the way back
Oh, on the way back she did. Okay. That makes more sense.
That's why I sent you that message, like
Okay.
saying I was trying to, because this in the timeline has been continuously skewed by George in the last 6 months, even more. I mean, it was never clear about what we're talking about right now,
No,
the
but
Age
now
of
it's
Heroes.
100 years packed into 10,000.
So yeah, I was trying to workshop if we could get the 10,000 ship event in there, because then that would get your Rorinar and that would get Nymeria over in the Summer Isles. But I think logically, and to take a pragmatic approach, and I think you could still tell a good story, is simply it's a trade port. It travels to both. That makes sense to me, you know?
It really does. You know, it could also make sense as a hub to send people. You know, they have. You're not gonna have Dragon Bone, but Golden Heart is the strongest bows that you'll find in the world besides Dragon Bone. So they're not gonna have Dragon Bone bows. So that's something they could pull out, right? You have this. It's almost a mythical weapon. They won't even let them use it on each other in warfare in the Summer Isles. So I think that's pretty cool. They also had the talking trees there that they write all their history on. They may tie in some kind of mysticism there. I don't think there's. But then you go back to she's only using 2 lines from the whole damn book. Where does that leave us?
Well, and that's this is every, I don't know, my camera. Let me do what makeup people do. Camera. There it is. That's a good trick. Pro tip for you guys from Justin Thomas. Yeah. Quite pretentious to call myself a pro with 2,000 subscribers. Maybe you should wait till you get tens of thousands, say something like that. But hey, I'm a piece of shit. But yeah, that's every page that mentions Age of Heroes or the Summer Isles or anything that we have had mention of, officially by HBO. And but those 2 lines are inspiration for the story.
Yeah.
So they aren't the story, but yeah, no, I mean, I've been messaging you about it. I gotta find it. And thank you, Amber Lynn. Sorry, I'll get off the soapbox. She this was one that I didn't get, digitally, because it's something you kind of want a physical copy of, as a book like this. But with your research, you really want that digital copy because you can just, put in a term and get right to the page.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so she sent me that as a gift.
Can I tell you something? That book's a pain in the ass. I want a pocket version. Because that thing,
I like it.
That's all. I need a pocket version of that. John, Sasa, your thoughts on anything with the Children of the Forest, a Shy, a Zora High? I'll throw a couple more factoids at you in a minute, but we have a lot out there on the table right now, so go ahead.
I've been blabbering. Kenzie,
Sasa's being all Canadian.
To say, and I would really like to hear what she has to say. Me, I was just saying, yeah, I have 4 first pressings of Fire and Blood.
Yeah, which will be worthless in no time. Sasa, no,
yeah.
I do love that. I love that book though. I do love Fire and Blood.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sasa.
They're sitting in 3 of them are sitting in Mylar bags with pressings in the back, and they're
I think
ready to sell.
Chat wants to know what you're smoking, John.
I think
tobacco.
Yeah, we're probably with the World of Ice and Fire thing.
I think they see the Cruella de Vil cigarette filter.
Yeah.
I'd kill those dogs to make a badass coat. That's all.
It's supposed to help me quit smoking, so we'll see if it works.
In terms of everything that we've kind of talked about, we need a mythological type of creature, because that's what we kind of look to in terms of in our own views. Some people look for it less or more, just depending on, and the potential of that we've all been talking about, whether it's based in the actual or the current timeline for Game of Thrones or in actual history, that this could be a multiple person type of deal, or the Last Hero is more of a multiple person type of deal. But so could technically, if you want to think about it, it is like Azor Ahai, or this legendary figure, this god almost for these people, went and saved them but at the same time, it's like, did they save them from in Essos, like where they build that is maybe why there's the mountain
We
of
have the
bones
5
essentially.
forts, which I think can hold 5 to 10,000 people a piece, and it's has that oily black stone as well. They don't really know how it got there. It's a
And that's on the
NUT
base of the high
legend.
tower as well, right?
Yeah. Base of the high tower. Then you have it at the sea stone chair, and maybe somewhere else. Oh, the frog on one of the islands in the South Sea, which I can't remember. But yeah, there's a couple of places with that black oily stone, and then you have it. You know, we don't really know if a Shai is some of the same stone, because if I read right, the building, streets, and walls of a Shai are made out of black stone that seems to drink the light. And not many people have been there, so you're basically hearing a bunch of word of mouth. I think a couple of maesters have been there. Significant arcane knowledge is held there. I think it's probably one of the birthplaces, not of magic, but of the discipline of magic or blood magic, I think.
Yeah.
And with a Shai, it's also
What everything points to that. Go
the
ahead.
lore, like the whole idea of lore kind of comes out, especially with Melisandre. And how it's like the god of R'hllor is kind of not developed, but it was its first teachings and was from there, which may lend itself to something because that was a huge religion in the latter seasons of the show.
You know, like what you just brought up, Mackenzie, about people are, you know, they're okay in Greek myth. You know, you or in any type of mythos, you know, you can talk about the Bible in the sense of, you know, where you refer to God as a character. So certain people that don't have this, you know, especially if you you know, are not part of one of the Abrahamic religions, that you consider God a character, you know, in a story, not a god. So like that's the line I think that they're gonna kind of draw to an extent here is how certain cultures, you know, embrace Azor Ahai, or the last hero, as this god figure, and certain as just a character within a story, is I guess like what they should be showing us. But like when you talk about that's, you know, where the Lord of Light, like, seems like it the first inception of it came most likely from the Shadowlands. So I guess Shadowlands, the Lord of Light, that makes sense, right? Like everybody's gods, like you know, obviously are in relation to the landscape they live in, the terrain, the, you know, type of. Yes, exactly. That's why, you know, you get a lot of you know, like Celtic or Celtic, whatever, folklore and stuff that has to do with, you know, worshiping the earth and stuff like that. And then once they start to see that rain is what grows their crops, once they just stop being hunter gatherers and they start, you know, farming, then we start worshiping above, right? Because that's what's feeding us, that's what's keeping us alive. So it's like, what happened in Valyria, what happened in Ashai, that there's such a strong presence of the fire aspect of ice and fire.
Yeah, it goes back to dragons, but that makes me think of one thing that correlates here: the Ironborn origins. I am almost 100% that they were a shipfaring culture, either fleeing or exploring. They crash, couple people drown, and wake up on the shore, and they forever worship there. You know, you just have to have this event where you come back to life. One person survives, and they see a person drown, and then maybe they kick them, and this person comes back to life. They're revered as a god. So something small like this could have happened over in a Shai, you know. It doesn't take much for something to build into legend.
Well, too, with the Ironborn, it's interesting because of the connection with, you know, Vikings and them, Scandinavian culture. That, you know, you have what's called in Russia, or the, like, what was known as the Rusland, a heavy denial from you call this side the nationalists. You know, that they embrace the Slavic. You know, side of their culture. So they don't, it's called the Norman problem. They deny any participation of the cultivating of their culture from the Scandinavians, from the Vikings, or they be called the Varagians, because if they go east, Varagian, whatever. But you know what I mean? So what do they do? The Ironborn do something similar. They say we don't want to be associated with the Andals, the first men. We were just spawned from the water. We're something just completely different, right? It's like this idea of like creating others, both in the sense of the others that are in our story, but it's the sense of identity.
Well, I mean, this goes
making
back
yourself
to
unique.
The Dothraki believe the Ashai are the spawn of shadows. They're called, the others are called shadows as well. Could this be the true origin place of the others? I know what we've seen in the show, but we know that's not necessarily accurate.
Well, in two, it's interesting since George is excuse the terminology. Well, everything. I'm having trouble with the words today. I'm very stressed, but in the sense of George always injects science, into his stories, and he's obviously far more versed in it than I and a lot of people. But like, we got water on our planet from comets hitting it that had water, asteroids and stuff. So like, there's all these connections. Like, no matter which element the specific culture is like really embracing and injecting into their spiritual beliefs and their cultural ways, it all kind of like still derives from like they're still all tied, like people that are following the Lord of Light, and they're the fire aspect that they have more in common with the Ironborn than they would think. They're not distinguishing themselves as much as they may believe, since it's like essentially the creation, from what we know in our real world, and what George kind of tries to stick to, even though with the weird seasons, and he says he might explain that. Is my point is, this world was created most likely in a very similar way. He injects comets in the tilt of the earth. So like, I just, using real world science, the loose grasp I have on it, every single spiritual belief and culture and what they embrace as far as the elements, like it all syncs up in one way or another. It all derives from the same source.
Yeah.
Or they share a little bit of each other's, beliefs, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, and I think, now that I think about it, that magical red comet, I think it may have split in two, and one part hit a shy. Because a normal comet blast isn't going to make vitrification like the black oily stone. Not in that type of mass, and not be so devastating that nothing on the planet is going to live for thousands of years. I think there has to be some sort of magic in play. Even though I know as far as the seasons and everything goes, stuff like that's going to be explained naturally, but I think there has to be a hint of magic. And maybe that is, shout out to Septuagint Secrets, I think, did a video recently on this as well. We talked about it on my Isle of Faces podcast, and they talk about the two moons hitting, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a moon. Primitive peoples, plus the translations get lost in time. It could just mean a comet split, or that comet might not be a comet, so to speak. Could be part of some celestial body that exploded long ago.
And whoever was the even first source account, it's almost a guarantee that they didn't have 100% like correct information. It wasn't like they knew for sure and it even got lost in translation. It's always an interpretation, right, of these events. And what's the difference between magic and religion? Well, it depends on if you're religious or not. If you aren't a Christian and you read the Bible, you're gonna say Jesus is doing magic tricks in the New Testament. That's very offensive to some people that are believers in that, and I'm just doing a hypothetical. So it's like, like I'm with you on, like, there's obviously a magical aspect to it, and George believes in something. He just will never explain it, which I think is beautiful, because that's kind of, it's exactly the situation we're in. If you do believe in something, you're never getting that proof. That would be nice if there is something up there, and I need to be believing in you. You should like let me know. Like, and not in some like weird, like symbolic way. Like I had a experience. No, I need like paperwork signed saying that like Protestants got it nailed, and I'll join up. I'll be at church every fucking Sunday, and I won't say fucking Sunday. But yeah, I mean, stop with your vagueness. And that book too is not a good depiction. I mean, that is not a coherent story. God,
Well, I
so
mean,
many fucking unreliable narrators. Get it together, and I'll
hey,
work on me too. So,
it happens. Um, but I want y'all to, like Mackenzie and then John, any last statements you would like to make, like about a Shy or ET or the Bones, anything we've kind of covered today. I've got a note here. I don't know who it's from, but I think yes. Next episode we'll do something explicitly on the Black Stone because I think it deserves its own. Definitely deserves its own stream. So it'll be a part of the next Nooners News. Maybe not the one at Con, so we can prepare good, but there will be a Nooners News at Con, and also we'll be getting a podcast. I'll let Justin plug that in just a minute, and then after that we'll be talking about what's going on at Con of Thrones and everybody's plans and stuff. Won't talk about it too damn long, but we'll talk about it for a little bit at the end. So y'all go ahead and any like final statements or a final topic you'd like to throw out for the long night in Essos for today. Just remember, you know.
It seems like we got the long night and we got a lot of focus on the long night in Westeros. But as we've talked about today, there's not too much on the long night in Essos, and I really hope that we get more information about Essos, and that we kind of get some sort of explanation towards it, and we learn more about these places like Ashai and Yeti, whether it's in canon material like books or through potential prequels and like sequels of those types of shows, and if we can consider those that canon as well. um yeah, like in terms of there being almost secondary children of the forest in Essos entirely is a thing of, yeah, why not? Like there had to be something from somewhere. You've got all of these different ports and cities that we're talking about. There is Southeros. I can imagine that there would be some sort of type of creature that could live in Southeros that somehow migrated into Essos, and among other things. I know we're going to talk about more of this stuff in the future, but that's kind of what I'm thinking for right now. John, what do you think?
Oh, I got the baton passed to me. I have to say, and anyone who's watched streams that we're on, that either of you have been kind enough to have me as a guest on. I think Azor Ahai at most is a kaleidoscoped myth, and at the very least is just a concept that people come up with.
It's also
You know,
known
you
as
get,
Nefarion and Yentar and Eldritch Shadow Chaser. So yeah, it sounds super legendary, like maybe even
you
a
know,
bunch of people.
you got to remember this is a slave religion. These are people who have they need something to have as an ideal of uh, freedom, freedom from the state they're in. I mean, that's why we have gospel music, man. Like, I mean, that's the roots of gospel music. Is from these people who were slaves who come up with this music that is supposed to lift them up despite what they have to deal with. So I always wonder, like anything involving Azor Ahai and so forth. Like I always have that thought in the back of my head. Maybe it's because of my music background,
Hmm.
but it's a really big conceptual idea. Also, I I think that almost anything that took place in the long night. I mean, you and I have talked about this extensively before. I think it's kaleidoscoped ideas, or I'm sorry, telescoped ideas.
Yeah.
There was this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, or this girl and this girl and this girl and this girl, and telescoping them into a singular idea.
Well, to your
6,000
point,
years is a long fucking time.
it is like to your point. I'll just throw this at you and let you keep running with it. Mel, who is the biggest proponent of Azor Ahai in the series, all she remembers is Melanie Lot 7. She's a slave. Even as a priestess, she's a slave to that religion, and they have slave soldiers. So I think that's awesome. Like, kind of just made me reevaluate myself. I've thought about it, but yeah, you're brilliant, John. Just keep it up, man. Keep going.
Well, what do you think about Token's work, where essentially his world was, created by music? Literally, the Similarian. That's what they talk about is the creation. They all start singing together.
John just busted a. Never mind.
Ask Johnny. You don't want to start me talking about Tolkien.
Well, I just wanted to touch on what you said about how society binds together through spiritual beliefs, which is very true. Because there's really no. Whether or not you're a believer in something or not, it's hard to argue with the actual stats when it comes to communities that have strong spiritual ties tend to do better because they help each other out. Now, I'm not like advocating one way or another, but it's easier to get people on the same path using religion than it is politics, are just common interests. Like, you can go and join a softball team. People that attend the same church it's been proven, those societies tend to have less poverty and stuff like that. But also those spawn out of a lot of societies that are very, very poor because, when your life's not going so well, you need a reason to believe. And I think that's what we're touching on. Azor Ahai is an idea because it's a very settling idea that Armageddon was at the door and somebody comes and they stop it, right? You need your hero. You need something that makes you feel safe. You need a reason for you need to explain away things, and it's much easier to explain away things in the sense of a hero or a god or any of these myths or spiritual beliefs, whatever you want to call them. It's just we need an answer for the monsters in these worlds. So
as a person of faith, I have to say I totally agree with you. You need your own personal Jesus.
Yeah. And, I think that it's always, I liked what they did.
You won't find me, but you won't find me between four walls. That's one of the classics.
Yeah. I think George handles it well. He shows that something bigger is at play, and he never gives a specific because, that's what we get. So that's relatable. That's relatable to me. I don't, I like to take note of what is realistically the situation. Like, just because, yes, people that have less money and have harder lives tend to, have those populations are more spiritual, doesn't take away from those belief systems, just because people need something to believe in doesn't credit or validate our, decredit the belief system is my point. The source of their faith, whether it's fear-based or not, or whether it's, out of desperation, it's just far more understandable that people that are having hard times are going to turn to something like that. So I think that George handles that. He shows that. Look at the Hound. When does he start believing?
Yeah.
So, I think it's just accurate. And I think I just want just to be clear that I won't disclose my own beliefs, but it doesn't take away from it. But it is a fact. I think sometimes when you say, because there's that old, people with low intelligence and poor people are the only, they're the biggest Christians or Catholics. And, you can get metrics, that will fit that thesis. That's called a black truth. So, it's like a white lie. It's just using a statistic to like credit, it's selective research. But it is true that in desperate times we turn to the unknown because we have nothing else. Doesn't mean the unknown isn't there. So I think I like that. I don't want to see a God figure arise. I want to see, again, a grounded story about mythical and legendary events. I think that's what makes sense.
I just did a clown horn really quick. You can't hear it though, so I can make fun of you. No, I really like what you're saying and what both of your guys are saying. You're kind of getting my mind philosophically open here, and we'll have to keep up with this topic because I think I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but there's a few things that we can talk about. I'd like to have you back, Justin, for when we talk about the children of the forest for sure. Sasa, you got anything you want to add to those lovely words that these two beautiful gentlemen have spoken?
I think they kind of wrapped up what I've been kind of thinking. You all have actually been, and yeah, I feel like we have what? Why did I say Wessos? Almost said Wessos. Essos, in this story for a reason more than just for a place for other characters to come from / go to, but to have some sort of development. And it makes sense that there's not too much knowledge of this. And if they do touch this in the prequel, which not really was the main topic for today, but if they do touch on it, I feel like we'll have some key characters, whether they are of high importance or not, that will really explain to us more about this place that we don't know too much about. Yes, there's a pretty decent section in the World of Ice and Fire about the these lands, but we need more. Like, we know so much about so much about Westeros that, come on, give the East a bit of some
Here there be dragons.
yeah, a spotlight almost. And I feel like that may be a thing that we may get more in the future, is just more knowledge of this place that's unlike our own, or unlike what's considered medieval Europe almost, so to speak.
I fear that the book fans are not gonna necessarily be happy with this, just because it seems like she's using so little. But it could be good for show watchers only. I'm not saying it's gonna be a horrible thing. I just don't like that this is the one they're going with after what happened with season 8. You know, I feel like there's a couple other stronger candidates than this. But maybe they know something we don't know as far as that goes. A little bit of segue here.
Could I add just one short thing? And I'm sorry.
I doubt it,
I
Justin,
agree
but
with
go ahead.
Yeah, I know, but I don't like the idea of rehashing the Long Night. If I'm interested in the story of seeing that obsidian, of what happens to get to the point where he's tied to the tree and that obsidian's going in. But what I think is going to happen is what I'm trying to convey is we're probably not going to get a lot of specific names other than Bran the Builder and Land the Clever, because they're going to need that name recognition for the high concept, project, meaning wide, it catches the wide audience that they need to catch, the millions upon millions of people. But in Essos, I think that, like you said, book people aren't going to be happy. All they have to do is stay faithful to what the lore has depicted this land as, and subvert some expectations, not do nothing but subvert, but just show us. That's why I really don't think we're gonna get like a lot of like major mythical characters in it. I think they'll play off that in Westeros to show you the real Bran the Builder, like I've talked about before, as just a regular Mason getting, like chewed out by his boss. But because it's all about seeing these legends be humanized, because that teaches us we can be, heroes. So, but yeah, I think Essos is going to be explored, and they can just do it with a character that you've never heard the name of because they made that character up. They definitely picked an era in which the sandbox to play with. It's the most uncleared, skewed timeline possible. Again, Summer Isle's not even on the fucking map. So they obviously, and they've gone even further to skew it. So that's all on that. And we'll just have to see. But I think it does set them up, right, Johnny? Because you said there's better. I'm assuming you're talking about the Doom and stuff that we all want to see. But this is kind of like going to work in that linear fashion. If they do multiple series, because then the next rational step after this would be Valyria, right?
Yeah, I just hope that it I hope this isn't unsuccessful, only for the fact that I think if it is, it's going to kill any other any other prequels or anything else they're trying to do.
Absolutely
I fear
will.
that.
It absolutely will.
That's the problem. But
Yeah.
Con of Thrones, everybody on the panel's going. We'll be doing a few shows from there, a podcast from there. Justin, you like to tell everybody about our podcast? You know, we got to be promoting ourselves as much as we can.
Oh my God, yeah, I got to send I hoard that podcast out so much yesterday. I got a son. We're on iTunes now. We're on everything. We're on things that you couldn't even listen to podcasts before. If you try to use your GPS on your phone, our podcast will come on. So, also robocalls. I've got it going out through those. No, it's the Fandom 3. The general idea is not talking like right now. We're talking about, well, as much as we can specifics, because this is a story that's based off of events, not a pre-existing narrative. But the fandom as a whole, meaning we talk about what's going on. As far as if we look at a certain show, we're looking at it because we're going to look at Black Mirror and talk about anthology series. We're not giving you episodic, reviews or anything like that. So it's me, Johnny, and Mackenzie, and we watch one new to streaming, which means like within the last 2 weeks, episode or film once a week. We pick one at the end of each episode, and then at the beginning of the next episode, we tell everybody, give them a short little review, recap what we thought about it, kind of, to maybe sway some people that are thinking about it, and let people know what's coming out with because Netflix has every Friday it's at least 30 titles coming out. HBO Now, Amazon Prime, whatever's in Canada that Sasa. That's the first time I've ever used your little nickname. I'm just gonna start using it. I feel that we've reached that part now. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's something that lends itself to have every episode be exciting and not just get just stuck in that that freaking fog, whatever you want, the funk that you get stuck in when you just beat yourself down reviewing the same thing. We're talking about culture and fandom in a broader sense. What makes good story for fandom? What makes these communities so great? The cons, what do these mean? How do people express their love for these stories? Do they do cosplay? Do they make fan art, fan fiction? What is the validity of YouTubers' theories? Is that fan fiction or not? We go over all these topics, so it's a wider range, and we kind of zoom out, and we're getting it together, and we're gonna keep keeping it tight. And it's I'm really happy to have these two on with me. So go to we have a Facebook, we have a Twitter, and a Patreon. The Patreon's kind of cool. You guys should check it out. And yeah, anything that podcasts that are available on, you should be able to get it as of right now. Else I wasted a lot of hours yesterday. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So, and we will continue to do it, and hopefully we'll do one from the con, live from the con.
Well, Justin, you should be used to it. I've wasted my entire life, and so have you. But Lay, let's get on the up move. If you want to have ice cream with Justin Different, go check out the Patreon. I know he does it on his normal Patreon, but I'm stealing that idea. Come have ice cream with us. I'll actually put a cherry on top. Boom, boom. Okay. What you doing at Con of Thrones, Sa? You know anything that's going on there? We'll let Justin talk again, but not for a little while because he's the star of the show right now. I gotta bring him down a notch, a peg or two.
Yes, please do that. Tell me to shut the fuck up. That's what I've been telling you. Yeah, that's fine. I don't take offense. That's what I count on you for.
Bobby, why are you running away now? We have there's some stuff that's going on. Of course, panels, many panels. There is the marketplace, which has many people from, I think, Etsy, Facebook, their own shops that are coming. So go check those out. There is some pre-events. I know that there's one that's on Facebook. You can find it. It's the Crying Wolf. That's a pre-con dinner where you can meet everybody who's coming in that Thursday night and just hang out, have drinks, whatever you want. Then I think Friday morning before the panels and everything starts, there's breakfast where you can meet people.
Cocaine.
You can meet people for breakfast, and then there's stuff throughout the day. You can go to conofthrones.com. There's all the panels. Um, there's the autographs and photographs. They're still trying to figure some out because Joe Dempsey had to dip out, probably to go to San Diego Comic-Con.
He had diarrhea. I heard he had diarrhea.
Because that's what happened with John Bradley's. He dipped out, and then it was announced he went to SDCC. So they're trying to figure it out. I think the newest person that they're bringing should be announced today. That's what Conofrones promised. So yeah, we have that. There's after events like Ride the Dragon, which is, I believe, Tony Teflon's event. There's so many.
I've got I actually have good information though, because Tony and Tarzan are the ones throwing this, and been in constant contact with Tarzan. That Thursday at 8, you got the local. It's that's that dinner you're talking about, and then the Ride the Dragon, and that's about 6 miles away. It's the Wild Beaver for the name of that bar, and you can see me because I accidentally signed up to ride that dragon. When I was asked to get on the list, I thought that it was a list to get into the bar, and I thought that was weird to begin with, but didn't want to not be on it, and then rationally realized that I made a decision at 5 o'clock in the morning to ride a fucking bull, and I DJ'd for 10 years, and I know how that goes for people.
I'll bring you a crutch. And also, how do you feel about it being called a beaver, Kenzie, since that's your nation's animal?
What? Ride the beaver? Oh,
no, it's the beaver is the name of the bar.
I was about to say, I was like, what? Beaver?
She said, what? Ride the beaver.
Yeah, the beaver, yes, it's the national animal of Canada. It's not like the eagle, bald eagle.
Not even close.
But, I mean, it's fine. It's like whatever I mean, it's not like I have jurisdiction over what a bar wants to call itself. It's not like Patty's Pub. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I think Con will be fun. Con will be very fun. We'll all get to meet for the first time, which will be just awesome. And
Justin's bringing his sword.
Pro tip from you from Santivia is to get your blanket from Nancy before the dragon riding challenge.
Yeah.
So yes, get the blanket from Nancy. But yeah, there's like the diamond. What is it? A diamond trophy?
Tarzan spent an extravagant amount of money on it. It's ridiculous. So
I'll wear my best cod piece.
Yeah. I like that.
Look, it's Shade the cat.
Shade. Say something, John. Meow.
That cat's Shade's doing her cameo. Anytime I go on air, Shade has to do a cameo.
Yeah, she does.
I think she's possum.
Just wait. Justin retells the story about the kitten in his garage.
I'm not going to retell that one. I only have the sword in my hand to let anybody know that is going to be doing. I don't know exactly what the event is called, but it is essentially single combat. That
I'm ready for it. But if y'all are there and y'all see us, just come up and talk to me. Don't be afraid. I'll definitely be down to talk to anybody and hang out with all my friends. Love you guys in the chat. Justin's gonna be doing some awesome stuff. So
I'm gonna fuck
which
people
panel
up.
are you gonna be on?
I took him a lesson. I'm gonna fuck people up. I'm calling out a challenge.
I challenge you to a duel.
I'm going to be doing something very special for Colin.
Uh-oh.
And it's not going to be actually Game of Thrones. My hair might be closer to my natural color.
Might be bright red.
What is your natural color?
Whore red.
Most people call it auburn.
Oh, all right. I call it beautiful.
No.
And I might have.
We'll have a nooner show. There's going to be a podcast coming from there. John's going to be doing. We'll be talking about BSG from there. I'll be bringing lunchboxes with all of our faces on it. All of the Cylon Johns and Jill's faces on it, so check that out. Bubba Husky will be live on air, giving him his lunchbox. Going to be sending those out from the con, I think. Or at least I'll get you guys input, because I'm going to bring them there and let y'all kind of put some notes or whatever in there. So and personalize it, because it's not just a lunchbox. There'll be some stuff in there. So we got a brand now with my pretty face on it, so it should sell like
Johnny
hotcakes.
and I have come up with some awesome shit to put in these lunch boxes, by the way.
Lunch boxes that were promised.
So many personal massagers.
I just actually hit my did a GoFundMe for $200 because I was my invite to participate in a panel came at a far later time than is usually the norm. Just for I'm very happy to do it, but for reasons I won't get into, I had to step in. So my hotel is like $1,000 because I had to book it late, and I asked her to, and I just hit my goal over it. Jennifer Wolverton, thank you. You put me over at 225, and then Bobby, thank you as well, and thank you to everybody else that's donated to that. That really means the world to me. I hated to have to do it, and it's just amazing to me that people are willing to help out, and it means the world. I don't know. I don't know if I can ever repay it. I'll try to be the best Justin I can be, but remember that still is just like being the tallest midget. So yeah,
It's fine, whatever. I'm proud of you, son, and I think you'll do good. He'll be on that Age of Heroes panel. He'll be riding the bull backwards, just like I told you before.
Cowgirl.
Running backwards through
Call
a
it cowgirl.
cornfield as well. And
Yeah,
then-
it's totally backwards cowgirl.
yeah, that's how I fuck. Yeah. So there you go.
But is there any? Would y'all like to tell anybody where they can find you and stuff? And I'll give me some Patreon shout outs, because I gotta let my buddies know how much I care. Don't point at them like that. Are you threatening me?
No, I'm letting people know I'm doing an open fucking invite to anybody that wants to breathe their last breath
Stab
on
you
the
in
day.
the gorget.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to duel Justin?
Yes, it's clear. I'm pointing as yes, everybody. I love you, but
John's going to get something. I think he's
Good.
got a morning star.
So,
John's
Once
got a
that
morning
happens,
star.
you can find me on my channel, where maybe tomorrow, I'm not sure yet, because I have to catch up. We'll be talking Stranger Things
Scimitar?
at some point. If not, next week we'll talk it, or the week after. But yeah, we got Stranger Things,
Thing on my
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon. A new video may come up on my channel before con. Who knows? But yeah, well, it's been fun hanging out with these people, and check out the podcast. It's a fun time. Bobby gives a glowing review. She says she loves it. So yeah, it's fun. And it won't be next week, but the week after we may talk about cons on the podcast. So, which will be fun.
That's a cute sword.
Oh no, I'm a dark and shady person. We use.
All right, so who's ready? I got y'all. I'll get y'all with this. Come on. Let's go
Oh my
for it,
No,
guys.
no, that's one. Yeah, I see your Holland Reed right there, because that's the only way you'd be able to beat me if that coward Johnny stabs me in the back of
No,
my
I'll
neck.
throw this thing and hit you in the forehead with it to distract you long enough for me to kick you in the face. I don't know. I'm just making shit up now.
New York says, "I demand duel by meme. I'll meet you in face."
By the power of Grayskull. I'm about as big as He-Man too, about 4
So
foot.
there's
I'm the sword of the mid-afternoon. All right. So, open challenge. I hope for that. I don't know the actor's name that's there, Cyril Farrell, but if he says something like, "This isn't the Westerosi nightstands," I'm throwing an elbow to his face right away and breaking his
Like
nose.
I'm the sword of
So-
the midnight oil.
Yeah, I am gonna take it so seriously, and I know that Crowfood's daughter, who has done so much for me as
Shout
well.
out
and
to him, man.
I gotta be
Awesome.
Yeah, she is like the champ. She's on the front page, and I said, "You literally have arranged to fly out your own assassin." So you'll be the first person in history. And John, hey, you want to know what? I really like you, man, and I'm happy that you're a spiritual man, and I think you need to right yourself with your maker, because you will be departing, my friend.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm gonna kill people. Okay, no big
I
deal.
think
All right?
I think we need to just end on that, and I'll Amy True, anime lover Nicole, Bobby Catalano, Catherine Cronin, Catherine Harding, Clarissa Thompson, Dornish Dan, John St. Baptiste, Dark Mother, Nancy T, Santivia Major, Susan D, and I think that's it. Don't forgive me if I forgot anybody, but I don't think I did. Thank everybody in the chat. Steve York, Bobby Catalano, Bravosi Broadcast, Santivia, see, I'm still saying it wrong. Lady H of the North, Talamasca Dan, everybody else that was here beforehand. Much love, my friends, and we will see you on the next Nooner Show. Thank you for being at the inaugural one.
Like a painter who only paints in red.
Justin, did you kill my father?
Hey, bro.
Yes.
We're still live.
Yes. I need you mad.
Shit.
We're still live.
You were supposed to say no.
No, I want you to be. I feel bad. I want you to